Mitch, 12 months on from Commonwealth Games, an outstanding meet, 5 gold medals in your pocket. How do you reflect on commies?
It's hard to reflect. It sort of feels like yesterday at times, and then at other times, like I said, a couple of years ago. But, it's one of those weeks where you just look back and everything went to plan. And I remember meeting with Dean sort of 12 months out, talking about what the plan could look like, what the week could look like, and what my goals were, what his goals were. And I remember him saying to me, we're going to go for 5 events, and I thought he was joking, and told him, he's kidding himself. I'm sort of struggling to finish 1 or 2 events, let alone, to go 5 back to back. And as the months sort of went past, he sort of said, no, we're going for 5 gold. And once again, I looked at him like, you're crazy. But a month or 2 before, everything was looking good, and we got there. So, I can still remember the last night, the Medley relay. Came down to the last touch with Kyle, and we got there, so it was amazing.
So when did the mental focus shift, or did it actually help you having 5 events to focus on, so that you had to just focus on the event that was on that day?
Yeah, I love backing up, having a race every day or a swim every day. For me, if I've got a day off or 2 days off, I tend to sort of think ahead, and I don't like that as much. So the more time I can spend in the water and go through the routine of warming up, going through the race and then swimming down and sort of ticking the box, going from one race to the next. And I remember during the meet, Dean and I would celebrate for 5-10 minutes after the race. We'd go through some good points, some bad points, and then he'd say, all right, forget it, move on, you've got another job to do tomorrow. And, as the days went by, it was getting tougher and tougher. Day 3 and 4 were certainly mentally more tougher than sort of days 1 and 2. And then once we're on the last day, everyone's a high and wanted to finish the meet off. So the last day takes care of itself. Day 3 and 4 were certainly the toughest.
You're our undisputed backstroke king. For the uninitiated, adding the 200 IM to your program was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Winning it at Commonwealth Games, another surprise. Was it a surprise to you?
It wasn't. I had a medley background before I was a backstroker, so I've sort of been gifted that I can swim all 4 strokes reasonably well, and I was struggling a little bit mentally with my backstroke, not feeling the way I wanted to in the water, and comparing it to when I was at my best, and it felt so easy. And so Dean said to me, look, let's forget about backstroke for a little while. Let's put it on pause. Let's get yourself fit. Let's clear your mind, get yourself swimming well, and we focused on the medleys. And once that sort of was taken care of, we then went back to the backstroke, and it just sort of took a mental edge off myself. And I don't put as much pressure on myself when I race. For me, the 200 medley is a fun event, and it goes to show, I swim a lot more freely, I swim a lot more naturally when I do it, and I'm trying to now implement that into my backstroke, and I think we'll get there.
Does the 200 IM make you feel young or youthful? Takes you back to your roots a bit?
Yeah, a little bit. There's definitely a reminder. I was more of a 400 medley swimmer as a young kid, so definitely don't want to really relive those memories, but there's definitely a sense of enjoyment, a lot less pressure, a lot less stress. And Dean even said, look, I can see it when you warm up. You don't care as much. You don't put so much emphasis on hitting specific times and specific stroke counts. You just swim. And it goes to show, you have to enjoy what you do and not take the sport too seriously. And I think, like I said, I'm trying to now implement that into my backstroke events.
So I'm guessing that the 200 IM will maintain or will stay within your program?
Yeah, hopefully. We sort of looked at the Olympic program. It does clash with the 200 backstroke, but for this year at Worlds, if I'm able to qualify, fingers crossed, I'll swim the medley at Worlds.
But obviously the fire still burns to climb to the top of that backstroke ladder again.
Yeah, absolutely. I said to Dean, backstroke's like my baby. It's something I'm most proud of, and he said to me, what do you care more about, Olympic gold medal in the backstroke or a medley? And I said, easily the backstroke. And that's just because I've sort of been at the pinnacle before and sort of slipped down a little bit, and I'm hungrier to get back to the top than ever.
Tokyo is less than 500 days away.
Who's counting?
No pressure. You've won everything in the backstroke world, apart from that elusive Olympic gold medal. How much pressure do you put on yourself, less than 500 days to go, to make that dream a reality?
Yeah, that's a good point. I've I came to that. I realised that a little while ago. I sort of had a moment where I looked at my swimming career and what I have achieved, and the only 2 medals I haven't is an Olympic gold and a Com Games bronze. Funnily enough.
That one can wait.
Yeah, but there is a little bit of pressure. But for me in Rio, I learnt a lot that the gold medal doesn't define you as a person, and if you're not satisfied with who you are without a gold medal, you never will be with one. So, I received, after Rio was quite an emotional roller coaster a little bit, but the support I received, and I realised people still love you no matter what you sort of finish or what you place, and it's more about the person you are and the character you show in the water, and rather than, I guess, the medal itself. So this time round, I'm looking at it more that way, and whatever happens in Tokyo happens. But I'm definitely hungry to, try my best and see what happens.
You've actually endured a very public breakup in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with all of that media scrutiny, public scrutiny on your personal life?
Yeah, it's tough. I stayed indoors for a long time, didn't leave the house for a long time, and I was lucky that I had a super supportive network of friends and family, and this squad here loves me. Without them, I'd be lost. Dean, I'd come to the pool every day, and Dean would welcome me with open arms and a hug, and the whole squad would as well. So having those guys there was amazing, and it's certainly grown our relationship a lot stronger, and Dean and mine as well. We sort of said, if you can get through that, we can get through a lot of things. So it was really tough, and I think I'm lucky in a way that I do have swimming. I could sort of get in the pool and just escape, put life on pause and just escape, the reality of things. And at the same time, I had a bit of uni as well, so I was trying to keep myself busy and not think about what was going on. But we got there, we survived.
You mentioned your squad. You have an incredible squad, great coach in Dean. You get to see Giaan Tippins day in, day out,
Yeah.
and she's had an incredible year, as have you.
Yeah.
How impressed by Arnie are you?
Yeah, very. She's got incredible attitude to the sport. She's so hungry, yet she's achieved so much in 12 months, as you said, So I think training alongside her, and not just her, there's a squad of 10 other guys and girls that are just pushing us hard, but certainly Arnie, really chasing and making sure all our I's and T's are dotted and crossed, and, it's truly inspiring. And I look at it and it makes me want to be like her again. I think I see the hunger, I see the enthusiasm, I see the excitement. I think back to sort of my earlier years, and I think, it reminds me just of myself. And, I'm getting a little bit older now and a little bit slower at times. Recovery is not as good, but, I see what she's able to do, and it pushes me harder just to keep up with her. And, this squad's like a family. It's got a fantastic culture, all the way from sort of high performance down to age level and even school level swimming. And I think, it's people like Arnie who encourage, the right attitudes to the sport that sort of develop and make it grow, which is truly inspiring.
You've met some of the biggest names in the world during your career across all different types of sports.
Yeah.
And successful people. But you met a little bit of an enigma in
Yeah.
world swimming a little while ago.
Yeah.
You met Eric the Eel.
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that.
It was amazing. I was shocked. I didn't really know. We were in Budapest, and we were going on a tour of Parliament, and he was there for a charity event. Part of the World Cup. He was swimming, I think it was a 50 relay or something like that. And we were just told we're going to meet the Parliament, go for a tour of this fantastic old, historical building. And we ended up having morning tea with Eric the Eel, and there was a few other Aussies there, and we obviously knew the story about it. And there was a few other swimmers who were a little bit unsure, and sort of got up YouTube and showed them the video, and actually sort of went through the background of his story. And to this day, it was one of those incredible moments where you sort of come face to face with one of those stories that is truly inspiring. It's so unheard of, and what he achieved was amazing. And I got to see him swim, which was something I probably never would have thought. So amazing. He didn't win the relay, unfortunately, but he did a really good job. Yeah.
You've recently been named as part of the Dolphins Leadership team. What what do you bring to the table, or what would you like the team to stand for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've been fortunate enough to see the team go through a bit of highs and a bit of lows over my career, and for us it was evident when there wasn't a leadership team amongst the team, and we were lucky enough in 15 to have some really good leaders stand up and say, I'm happy to stand up and be a leader, and Bronte Barrett, Matt Abood, Kate Campbell was part of the leadership as well, and I've seen that group develop and really lead the team, and so it's nice to sort of be asked to stand and fill in their shoes, and for me it's about being professional within the team, knowing what's right for you as an athlete, doing the little things right to perform well, and obviously a sense of enjoyment, having fun. You do have a place in the team, and you do have a right to have fun, and at the end of the day it's just swimming. So I think there are two things we try to bring to the team, but for me, with a bit of that is obviously experience as well, and I like to think I'm a friendly face, and if anyone has any questions or needs a little hand sort of finding their way around or making friends or feeling comfortable, I certainly feel like I'm one to help the rookies sort of blend within the team. As previous years, it was almost as if you're thrown in the deep end and told to sort of find your feet.
Like so many Australian swimmers, you've been rocked by the passing of Kenneth Toe recently. What was Kenny like for those that didn't know him?
Yeah, it's a bundle of joy is probably the best words to describe him. He had an absolute heart of gold, and his attitude towards life was incredible. The poor guy went through some highs and lows of the sport with injuries and that throughout his career, and at no point was he ever grumpy or disappointed, or he was always smiling from ear to ear, and had this absolute positive outlook on life. Was just such a big presence of the team, and I remember 2011 was my first team. Kenny was a part of it at Worlds, and he actually won male swimmer of the meet as part of the Dolphins, and I remember sitting at team meetings, and they were going through the results and who was swimming PBs and who was making finals, and Kenny's name was always getting called out, and I just remember thinking to myself, I just want to be like that kid one day. Everything he touches turns to gold, and at the same time he does this with this incredible outlook on life and passion, and the most infectious laugh that you can possibly, I can still hear it now, and I was lucky enough to have to meet Kenny. We started swimming medleys together at event camps in 2008, and I was only with him sort of 3 months ago at the World Championships in short course, and we shared a burger together and played some cards in the room, and security got called. We got told to be quiet, and Kenny got kicked out of our room, with about 10 or 15 other Aussie Dolphins. So it's one of those things that it absolutely rocked the swimming world, and I think by the sheer amount of outpouring you can sort of see as how much well liked this guy is, and he was incredibly intelligent, studied a physio degree. He loved his computer games. I played alongside him many times, and he often carried me through to get some wins, and we sort of had a Facebook group that was certainly close because of him. He was the one that was really pushing it, and we were all pretty devastated to hear about that. So it's hard to sum up, and it's a complete shock, to be honest.
So fair to say that Kenny Toe will have a presence of some description there at these Australian Championships?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and there's actually he holds the 200 medley short course Australian record still. And last year, Dean and I set out a plan to try and break that record. And in a way, I'm sort of proud and happy I didn't. It still shows that Kenny's got a proud history in the sport, and I think he always will. But that is going to be one particular swim for me that I'll certainly struggle, trying to break or break that record, and that's something I'll have to face in the next couple of months or years. But the memory of Kenny will always be with me.